If you've ever received bad dating advice but learned the hard way, hit the like button. What's up everyone, Sean Michael Afable here. Today I'm going to be making a reaction video to one of Matthew Hussey's, he's a dating guru, one of his videos called How to Know If You're Ready to Move In Together. All right, here we go.
And people have different beliefs on this. I'll just throw mine out there. When I hear people say, well, I want to get married to someone before I move in with them, I always find that to be a very dangerous concept. For me, I would much rather have lived with someone before I make the decision to marry them, because who knows what they're like in that environment. Things change when you live with someone, and everything to some extent is sped up and intensified because you're around each other the entire time. So I think for you have to make your own decision about whether it's really important for you to wait till marriage to do it. But what I would say is somewhere between the crazy passionate phase where you feel irrational and making a decision to be with someone forever, you should have a trial run at living with them.
All right, let's stop right there. Okay, so here's why I really totally disagree with Matthew Hussey. Here's why. The reason why you shouldn't move in with your significant other before marriage, the reason why you shouldn't even sleep with your significant other before marriage is, well, it's a little complicated, but I'll explain. The thing is, a girl must make a guy wait for sex until marriage, or she'll probably never find out whether or not he's a respectable man. The amount of respect she has for herself is the amount of respect men will be forced to have for her. In other words, boundaries. Okay? The problem that arises when a girl sleeps with a guy before marriage is manifold. You know, number one, when a girl sleeps with a guy before marriage, a guy isn't forced up front to consider her as a potential long-term option or spouse. He will likely stick to his, especially in this culture with, the hookup culture, he most likely will stick to his smash and dash mentality. Or his, she's good for now mentality, or she's good until I find better mentality. In other words, what happens in a guy's mind is he starts to think selfishly. And what is he thinking selfishly? Why buy the cow if I'm going to get the milk for free? And unfortunately, our culture, because of the hookup culture, is very much that way in their thinking. So there's no way for a guy to know, there's no way for a girl to know if a guy loves her or just loves what he's getting from her unless she makes him wait for marriage. When a girl who sleeps with a guy before marriage, when a girl sleeps with a guy before marriage, he will perceive her to be easy, and thus psychologically, practically, and logically, the truth is he has really no reason to believe she will be faithful only to him, because why should he believe she's strong enough to be faithful only to him if she has no physical boundaries to begin with? It started off, physical, or it, got physical. And because she didn't hold any of those boundaries, what makes him think that she's not going to be willing to do that with other people? And that's not an insecure thing. It's just a logical thing. If a girl holds back, he knows instinctually, even if he can't articulate it or doesn't understand it, he knows instinctually that she's not about just being manipulated into being physical, or that she's that's what's important to her, or that's what she's looking for. When a girl holds back and she actually holds those boundaries, especially until marriage, she's sending a totally different signal. She's saying what matters is a real relationship. What matters is that family, that marriage, that's what's the priority, not the instant gratification, instant physical connection, whatever. You're looking for something that has real sustainability, not just the physical aspect. Although, of course, you should be attracted to the person, but at the same time, if you're prioritizing that aspect of intimacy, then you're saying that that's what's most important, and so if she doesn't treat herself, as sacred, then why would she trust that she would all of a sudden change her ways just for him? And this isn't necessarily guys aren't necessarily thinking those things in their heads, but this is a very instinctual thing. Even if he's been with her for a while, there's still that question. There can still be that question, which is why I think a lot of people end up dating for years and years, but never really actually seal the deal, because, again, why buy the milk for free? And two, that trust in the beginning is questioned because she doesn't have those boundaries to protect herself from being used, potentially. Because the thing is, like, a guy can use her, and could be allowing that. So how does he know that she won't allow herself to be used later on? That, she won't be allow herself to be put in that same position because she's in the throes of attraction. Because attraction changes, and it's just because you get married to somebody doesn't mean you're just going to stay attracted to that one person forever and not going to, see anything else, or not going to experience somebody else who maybe is also attractive, or arousing or whatever. So the thing is, by a woman holding back, not only is she telling him that she has boundaries and that she wants to be respected, but at the same time, she's saying that she's telling herself, really, that she wants to be respected and not just used. That message is sending to him, it's being sent to him, as well as, even to herself and how she treats herself. And so there's so much benefits to that. The relationship, if you start off the relationship, physically and therefore superficially, it becomes essentially selfish. It started essentially selfish, and therefore unstable. And therefore we will continue to be selfish and superficial, and therefore boring, really boring. Because the only, true love is the only thing that's not boring in our lives. So therefore, a shallow relationship will likely end for the same superficial and selfish reasons. If two people start on, well, what I'm getting from this relationship, and that's kind of their mindset, it's not bad to say, well, do I like them? Do I like what they're about? Do I like who they are? How they, dress or look? That's fine. But if that's how you start it, and those are the most important things and aspects of it, and not who they are, the other person is, or how they are in bed, whatever, then those things aren't sustainable. They're not going to be what keeps everything together, because he's got a good head of hair, or whatever physical aspect that attracted you to them in the first place. That's not going to, those things don't last, and that's not what love is. I think that what we've lost is a real definition of love, which is willing the good of another person. It's wanting what's best for them. It's an action. It's a choice. So the benefits of making a guy wait for marriage is that the very fact that you are not sleeping around but waiting for marriage is the surest way to find a serious, committed, respectful, loyal, and marriageable partner. Why? Well, when a guy finds out you're saving yourself for marriage, what occurs immediately in his subconscious is an instinctual realization, okay, that you aren't controlled by sex, but are motivated by true relationship, and therefore cannot be manipulated into bed by other guys, who are masculine or you find attractive. That's not what's on the forefront of what you want. What you want is something long-term, something permanent, something serious, not just instant gratification and your jollies. So this is extremely attractive for a good man, or even a good man who doesn't know exactly, maybe he hasn't acted as a good man, but he doesn't know what to look for, and he's kind of been driven by his hormones and doesn't know what he wants to settle for. You'll find that good men will respond to this. Men who are actually looking for something real will respond to this. And he, a lot of times too, you'll get into a relationship, maybe a guy will get into a relationship and he just doesn't know why, there's this uncertainty, why can't I commit or whatever. I think because deep down there's this subconscious realization that I don't know if this is stable. And if it starts a certain way, which is the physical aspect, that's not a really stable start because you haven't really done any discernment. You've jumped into the intimate part, but it's jumped the gun. Like you're doing something that bonds two people together, but you don't know if you should have been bonding to begin with. So if the guy, a good guy, does win your hand in marriage, then he has a much higher confidence in your faithfulness to him. He alone has won you and has no other guys to compete with. That kind of woman is so attractive if he has any intention of wanting a real relationship, because he will see that you have self-respect and self-control because you're immediately placing yourself into the potential long-term or spouse category. You are placing yourself there. You are saying, I don't want to be in just these flings. I'm not looking to be easy. I'm not looking to be used. I want something real. I want something permanent. I want to be respected. Well, that's somebody that a guy can trust. With so many breakups these days and so many failed marriages, you see that if you don't start with that from the beginning, the foundation is already messed up. You're building a house on sand. So you're placing yourself in that potential long-term spouse category and not just the smash and dash category, so to speak. The amount of respect and self-control a girl has for herself is directly correlated to the amount of respect a man will have to have for her. And when a guy and a girl wait for marriage, they are deciding to marry because of who the other person is, not merely the physical aspect. Okay. Now, I'm going to jump to another section right now because I know what you're thinking. Okay, wait, hold on a second. Waiting for marriage, that means no intimacy till then. No sex until then. How do you know if you're compatible and if it's going to be all right or whatever? I know a lot of people are probably getting scared of this because it's like, we don't know what that's like, Here's what I have to say about that. So what if we're not physically compatible in bed? What if the sex is bad? The answer is sex is something that two people can and will work on through the course of the relationship. Okay, many married couples who have been together for years talk about how it gets better because you get to know each other, you learn each other's preferences, and you grow together. And the statistics really show that scientific studies that show that the happiest and most sexually fulfilled women, bar none, are married women. And I think actually bar none, happiest sexually fulfilled women are married women. Why is that? Because you have that sense of safety and you have that sense of like knowing that this is not going to break up and all that drama and whatever else. You actually have this knowledge that, we are in this for each other and what's best for each other. And that's so much more stable. And the sex is better because there's that, real connection that you actually care for that person. And so that deepens everything. Whenever you have a true connection that is more than just physical, it plays into the physical. It plays into the fact that you're not just two animals doing it. You're two people who really love and care for each other. And the passion will actually grow. What you put your heart into Where your heart is, there your treasure will be also. Or I should say, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So what is your treasure? Time, money, effort. Well, that can translate even into the intimate part of your relationship. So when you put the effort into that, it's how things grow. Wildfire grows by being next to the heat. Well, that part takes effort and time and patience and learning, and that's a beautiful thing when two people can share that. As opposed to the disgusting hookup culture and most relationships that don't fail or just becomes two mutual people using each other. I don't see that that's caused many people anything near to what we would call happiness. And you just look at the statistics, and the miserable, aspects of our dating culture. It just doesn't come close. Just statistically, and all the studies show that the happiest women, bar none, sexually fulfilled women are married. That's just how it goes. There's real commitment there. There's real investment there. And there's a much bigger safety there. Now you might say, well, what about the divorce rate? Well, again, like I said, if you wait until marriage, you actually have a higher chance of not getting divorced. There's actually a much, much better chance. And it's like an 80% higher chance, and there's an 80% higher chance of divorce if you do the opposite, if you sleep together and shack up and everything else. So I definitely agree with waiting, because it really is something deeper about us than just the physical aspect, and all those other aspects that people talk about and want to hype up. They're nothing compared to what two people who really care about each other and have in that relationship and who they are. That's the part that a lot of people are really missing, and that's why most people are miserable. You didn't have a lot of these aspects of what's really toxic about our modern dating culture before a lot of the sexual revolution that told us, we should just have free this, free love, whatever. And you wouldn't have a lot of these problems, and divorce was a lot less common, and fathers who stuck around where it was a lot more common, and so you didn't have a lot of these problems because people were actually committed to that. They actually had higher values than that, and people were actually happier and more fulfilled, and statistically speaking, had better sex. So I think it's a pretty good motivation. So here's an interesting thing to look out for. When a girl makes a guy wait, okay? Guy, tries to put on the moves, but, she has a talk with him. Says, okay, this is who I am. This is what I want. This is why I want it. This is what I'm looking for. She's going to find 3 types of guys, okay? And it's very, very clear. Okay, number 1, she will find wolves. They're looking for one thing. If they don't get it, they're gone. And good riddance, good riddance that you found out then when you were giving it to him for 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, that he's just that type of guy. Oh, I'm not going to get anything? Well, fine, I'm going to leave. How selfish is that person that he doesn't want what's best for you, but, I'm not going to get any? Well, then, bye, Basically seeing you as an object to be conquered. When I love this quote from Jason Ever, he said, "A man does not conquer a woman for the sake of himself. He conquers himself for the sake of a woman." So he conquers that selfishness and puts her first in what's best for her. And that's what real relationship is. 2 people working to give what's best to each other. So wolves, they will probably run away, and good riddance. But the good men will stick around, and because they'll see that your worthiness to be loved and respected, and therefore they will respect your self-control and your unwillingness to be used. They'll see that and say, wow, this girl actually wants something real. She's not going to be manipulated to just being used in any situation. She has that virtue. And he will admire your desire for something real, that you want something that's not just superficial. You want something that's long term. A good guy who's looking for that will see that you have those qualities that, are needed for marriage, to be a good wife and a good mother. And, they'll stick around because they want the same thing. And that's how you'll see if they're a good guy. And then there's number 3, the third type of guy, okay? And that's the wolves in sheep's clothing, okay? And this is what you got to look out for, because these men will stick around, but they're the, of course, I won't pressure you, whenever you're ready kind of guy. They're simply sticking around until you're weak and you give in. So they're probably also sleeping with other women behind your back. Now, the only way to tell the difference between the good guy and the wolf in sheep's clothing is that the wolves in sheep's clothing will continue to date you, and the good guy will continue to date you and rise to the occasion and actually marry you and actually go the full distance, sacrificing his instant gratification, his pleasure, that intimacy, because of that protection and wanting to respect you and your boundaries. And he will actually rise to the occasion and see that he wants you because of who you are, your virtue, your boundaries, your self-control, all those aspects that are necessary for something real. Okay? Now, the wolves in sheep's clothing, however, will make excuses. It's important to note that sometimes wolves in sheep's clothing will actually become, now, they can become good men. And here's how it kind of works. They might be the mentality, I want to just go out there and get some. But maybe they've never actually met a real woman who respects herself, wants something real, and isn't like 90% of the people out there. What happens sometimes in a guy's head like that is that because he doesn't have a paradigm, he doesn't realize that there's even girls like that. When he actually learns that, there's an instinct inside of guys that when you find something that has that worth, and that, somebody who knows that worth and has that confidence in it, it's like a light bulb comes on and they realize, whoa, this girl is not like the other girls. This girl has something, here, and she has something here. She has something real about her. And sometimes, not all the time, you gotta be careful. Sometimes they will want to rise to the occasion to become those good men. But there's only one way for you to see whether or not they will become that, and that is to continue to hold your boundaries until marriage. He may see in you that something he hasn't seen in anybody else, and that would be something that would be amazing, because he's rising to that, and you see that he was willing to grow in that virtue and willing to change his mind, and that's a good sign of a person who is much more intelligent and sees your value, and that would be cool, because you would see that person actually realize that worth and change their mind about that, and that they're more in touch with their instincts, that they're maybe not totally a hardened, I just want to smash and dash and, play the game sort of guy. Another question or objection is, what if we fall out of love? It's a very good question. Here's the answer to it. The answer is feelings come and go. You probably will fall out of those feelings. Those feelings will fade. They naturally fade, okay? But the thing is, love is not a feeling. It's to will the good of another. It's wanting what's best for them. It's putting them first. It's selflessness, okay? It's patient, kind, the whole traditional, 1 Corinthians thing. It's selfless sacrifice and the willingness to suffer with and for the other person. Remember the word compatible. To suffer with. That's what it means. There's this quick story. There was a famous psychologist who was very successful with married couples who were on the verge of divorce. And he would get them in a room and they would say something like, "Oh, we just, we don't love each other anymore." To which you would respond, "Okay, I have the answer. It's very simple. It's one word, one syllable. Do. Do love each other. Love is not a feeling, but an action, a verb. Actions are choices, okay? You may not feel warm and fuzzy feelings towards each other, but you must love each other. It takes work, all right? Which is, willing the good of the other person. Or in other words, helping a partner that you're compatible with, that you're willing to suffer with, to become the best version of themselves. See, if you think about what relationships really do, they help you to become less selfish. They help you to become what you're really meant to become, which is, if you think of it, everything that has to do with life, everything in life kind of boils down to one word. And what is that? Love. Boils down to that. So what are we meant to do? We're meant to love. What is love? Love is not what I'm getting. Love is giving. It's willing the good of somebody else. So really, relationships help you to become that which you're meant to become. That's what this does. It makes you a better person, a better man, a better woman, because it's two people working to love each other, putting in the effort. And it's actually the times when you maybe least feel like loving that person that you have the opportunity to grow, and maybe even have the rawest love, so to speak, the most emotionless love. And it's like, what happens if you do love that person? If you don't love each other anymore, but you put the effort in. Well, here's the thing. What happens when you do is that your heart for them grows. And so if you don't have the feelings, where your treasure is, there your heart is also. So what is your treasure? Your time, your effort, money. Where you put that effort in, where you put your time, where you spend your money caring for somebody else, what happens? Your emotions eventually follow. It's actually in those moments where you don't have all the initial butterflies and warm fuzzy feelings that your love is tested. Do I love them because of the feeling that I get from them, or do I actually want and will what's best for them regardless of how I feel right now? Now, I'm not saying like if you're in a bad relationship where it's like you hate the person and they're terrible to you, that or it's dangerous or something. I'm not saying that, well, then all you need to do is just take out the trash and rub their feet and everything's going to be great. No, obviously there can be very serious issues, but feelings eventually fade, and you're not going to have those initial butterfly feelings. So how do you get a long-lasting relationship? It's work. But you look at the people who have been together the longest, like 60, 70 years together, and they made it work, and they said they actually love each other more after all those years than they did when they first met. Why? Because they worked at it. They may not always have those warm fuzzy feelings towards each other, but they love each other. They do what's best for each other, and they're helping their partner that they're compatible with, that they're willing to suffer for, to become the best version of themselves. True love, really, because it's the decision to suffer with someone through the good times and bad, through the ups and downs, through the moments with butterflies, and through the times when the excitement has faded. But the depth of the relationship has deepened because of the challenges that you both have endured and overcome together, precisely because of that initial and continual commitment to each other. So what does that look like? Taking out the trash, right? Washing the dishes, writing a letter, spending time, doing things for each other. Then what? Magic happens. Where your treasure is, like I said earlier, there your heart will be also. And what is our treasure? It's our attention, effort, listening, energy, resources, your very presence. So I know that was a little bit long of an explanation, but as you can see, there's a complicated sort of aspect to it. It's not an instant, easy, memeable answer. This stuff is complicated, and that's why I think that sometimes when we look at these gurus and stuff, a lot of times they're giving us these tactics for very specific moments or a pickup line or whatever it may be. That's kind of trite and cheesy, but really there has to be this fundamental part behind it, and I think this is why most relationships fail, is because we've lost the aspect of love and respect, and those boundaries that really are made up of love and respect. Loving, caring, respecting yourself, loving and caring about yourself and what's best for you is also, the way to find somebody who will do the same. And so if you don't care for yourself enough to have those boundaries and love yourself enough to, keep those boundaries and respect yourself to, fortify those boundaries, then why is anybody else going to do that if you're not going to do it for yourself? Thank you so much. I'm Sean Michael Afable. Thanks for watching this. If you like this, please like it, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.